What does hopelessness look like for a teen? What does it look like for a community? What about for an entire generation? The definition of hopelessness is a feeling or state of despair. What a powerful, heartbreaking word. A word that so many teens today use to describe how they feel. It is time to rewrite the narrative, for redemption and transformation to have the final say, to see hope grow in the lives of teens and into the fabric of every community. But to do that, we first have to discover what's really going on with our teens. From my seat in the newsroom at KARE 11, I have watched a lot of stories unfold. I have witnessed and had the unique privilege of being able to help shape our coverage both locally and nationally. But lately, it has been harder to sit in that chair. So many kids are not okay. Recently, a colleague of mine aired a story about the mental health crisis facing children in Minnesota. He sits right next to me in the newsroom, and at one point he just paused his typing and looked at me and said, "The story I'm working on today is just devastating." He'd spent the entire day talking with people at Children's Minnesota and mental health centers across the metro, and they all reported the same thing, a huge spike in demand and a decrease in staffing, leaving the Washburn Center for Children, for example, with 700 families on its wait list. And Children said they've seen a roughly 30% increase overall in the number of kids coming into their emergency departments because of a mental health crisis. And it's not just here, it's so prevalent that the US Surgeon General just issued a warning of a significant increase of self-reports of depression and anxiety in kids, along with more emergency room visits for mental health issues.
I'm seeing hopelessness as just a general increase in demand for mental health services. The kids are sicker than they've ever been. The acuity, the severity in how these kids are presenting, and as well as our community supports, our county agencies, our partners out in the community aren't able to meet the demands of the kiddos because there's just too many. Really, we are seeing an increase in volumes that we cannot support in our healthcare systems.
A lot of the things that we see in the teens, it doesn't matter what their background is, because we see the same hurt and the same hopelessness in a teen that has two parents at home than we do with someone that's from a single parent family or even foster care. You see the same thing right across the board. It doesn't really matter their social standing. It's just they're hurting.
Parents are often in not good situations, and so the kids aren't having that stable home life, and so they're trying to figure out the world while their parents are trying to figure out the world, and all kinds of negative ways to cope. They're just grasping for straws.
Being a teen is hard. You have a lot of things going on in your life, and to assume that, oh, my community doesn't have that issue is really just not serving our youth. So if we continue to let them struggle, how will they... It's just really important because our kids are hurting.
To get to the heart of the hopelessness that's affecting our teens, we need to go beyond what we see, beyond demographics, family circumstances, economic status, or academic standing. We need to know what's going on in the hearts and minds of our teens as they navigate the difficult search for their identity, belonging, and purpose.
Well, most of the key feelings that we're seeing are depression, anxiety, hopelessness, angry. I'm just thinking about the list from last night's group.
What I see happening with teens specifically is an inability to cope, and not because they don't know how, but because a lot of the things that were previously available to them to help them cope aren't available. Parents are increased distress during this time as well with trying to manage the multiple competing needs on their plates. They're not emotionally available for their kids sometimes because they're teachers, they're financial providers, they're household managers, right? They're wearing all these hats as well. And so somebody might typically go to their parent for support, and now mom and dad are overwhelmed. And so they shut down, and the teens don't have that person to go to. Or teachers, school support staff, social workers, school counselors, those weren't readily available and still aren't fully staffed, We see a lot of burnout, and so those normal access points for teens aren't available. And so I'm seeing that increased loneliness, isolation, not knowing where to go or how to access support. So just kind of this helplessness, like, what do I do? I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling sad, I'm having thoughts of self-harm, thoughts of suicide, and I don't know what to do with that.
Kids don't have a lot of places right now where they can talk about their feelings, and where safe places where they can talk about their feelings and where it's honored and respected. A lot of them don't have relationships where they can talk about these really deep, difficult things that are going on in their lives, and maybe people don't seem like they care that much, or there's just not really the time and the place for it. Other kids don't really know how to support them.
I can't help but think, what if these teens had a treehouse? What if they had a place to go where they heard the message they are lovable, capable, and worthwhile, and that they had a future? What if they had a treehouse leader who would ask them sincerely, "How are you?" and really listen to the answer? Not just once, but week after week. What if more teens learned there's a loving God who created them, and they didn't have to earn that love. It was just given freely. Treehouse helps teens find hope. And even a little bit of hope can radically change everything. Our teens are in crisis, and they need a safe place to receive love and acceptance and to be introduced to a loving God. From my perspective, communities can't afford to not have Treehouse.
It takes a village. We can't just rely on the medical professionals. Treehouse comes along as one of our primary community supports to support our teens outside of what we're able to provide. We know that the healthcare professionals, the access is limited, and so we need our partners like Treehouse to come along and to fill into some of those gaps.
What I really valued in Treehouse was the structure of it and the support system. Treehouse provides that safe place for them where they can really talk about what's going on in real life. So many times they just cover it up and try to pretend to be somebody else. And at Treehouse, that's not us. They can talk about anything.
I worked at Brooklyn Park Treehouse for 26 years. I loved leading a program. I loved providing support groups and educational options, trips and activities for kids. Now I get to be a senior coach helping other ministry leaders do that. I love that I get to work with people who envision possible solutions for the things that their teens are struggling with in their community, but they don't know how to do it. And so I have the privilege to offer them a model that has been proven for almost 40 years, proven effective, working with kids struggling with misguided decisions, and proven to really offer caring support and hope where hopelessness seems like the likely option. Well, as a teen, I experienced a lot of victimization and bullying. Middle school bullying, high school bullying. Recognized that I was a smart kid but didn't fit in, so I found myself very lonely. And so all of the solutions to those things that I tried, whether it's getting high or mischief, they just made my life worse. And so when God got my attention and helped me realize that those weren't working for me, it really set me on a different path to try to offer the care and support I wish I would have received from other people.
In 2017, we did a study in our region of a real problem that we found. We found that this is a primary place where teenagers are targeted and trafficked. We did some seminars, we interviewed people, we raised money, we gave money, and we as a church wanted to help be part of a solution. So we looked for an organization. God brought us into a relationship with Deb Bodensteiner. We looked at what she's doing. We were excited about it. We talked with Scott County to find out what options they had. They steered us toward Treehouse as well. And we immediately saw that this was a way for us to have volunteers from our body do something that God was calling us to take part in, making a difference in teens, providing a home, providing a place for them to get healing, and then watching and praying over them and seeing the kingdom of heaven make a transformational shift in their lives and being able to participate in that.
So right there on the wall, it says, we want to make this a safe place and build community. I mean, it is the benchmark for what Treehouse is about. Lots of other communities are about important things. That's where we start. So we run support groups and mentoring, trips and activities, growth groups, lots of things to allow kids to really dig deep, because we want to do it in a safe way that they can be themselves and not feel the pressure to be somebody they're not, where they can have a community, a very, very blended community, where school might be a very blended community, but nobody chooses to be there. But we have this blended community at Treehouse with different appearances, different preferences, but all these people could come, and the thing they can talk about is their feelings. And because we can all relate to feelings, even if our life experiences are very different, those feelings connect us in a very special, intimate way, different than kids ever seem to experience anywhere else. Over and over again, my alumni are now in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. They say the thing they miss most about Treehouse is the intimate connection they got in Treehouse support groups. So that kind of gathering of shared experience and shared feelings has been very special in their lives.
I think every community needs a safe place for teens to go, to hang out with their friends or just to talk to somebody that'll listen. And that's what Treehouse is. Treehouse does a really good job at training their staff as well as volunteers. The online training is the best because they can do it whenever they want to do it. One of the things that drew me to Treehouse is they had it together.
Oh, the training is wonderful. They also help us prepare for each week's event. So as the program director, each week I teach a lesson and I use all the material from Treehouse. So it's games, it's education, it's talking about their feelings and just how they navigate different topics like dating or positive image, things like that. And they provide all of that. It's excellent.
So as I personally went through the volunteer training, I know that I have advanced training as a mental health provider, but it was really, really helpful in the sense that I felt confident that volunteers that were here knew when a real mental health emergency existed and knew what to do about it. So that reassured me as a mental health provider that, hey, these volunteers, they know what they're doing. They know when to tap out and to access help if they need it. They know what questions to ask the teens. They know how to assess for suicide. And so it provided reassurance to me that Treehouse is providing the correct and appropriate training to its volunteers. And to me, that's huge, because you want to know that the agencies that are in our communities and the people who are staffing them know what they're doing.
Scott County is a population of about 150,000 people, and we serve 3 cities currently with Treehouse locations, but there's 8 cities within the county and 16 different schools. One way we've been able to partner with schools, especially the Jordan High School, is to provide a support group within the school that serves middle school and high school students, and we meet in the media center of the school. The principal has been very accommodating and welcoming, and so has the staff. The county really recognizes how much the students are hurting and how much value Treehouse adds to the schools and to the kids in the community. The county actually came alongside us and gave us some direction as far as who to contact that could probably help us financially, as well as they came alongside us and provided some resources to help us get going and to grow there.
So in our county, and I think other counties really across the United States, there is increased emphasis on prevention services. So how are we reaching kids and families earlier to prevent involvement with involuntary services, to prevent further trauma for kids? And so Treehouse really becomes a critical partner to look at how do we fill service gaps specific for teens. And so it was probably several years ago, really started to hear about the program and began to shape some vision for how Treehouse and the county could partner. It started with some conversations around programming for crossover youth, but then we just became more about how do we really embed Treehouse in the Scott County community and simply make a place for young people to feel safe and welcomed in an informal sort of supportive network. It was clear to us after talking with Tim, meeting with Deb, doing some research around Treehouse, that the volunteers and the staff are trained. They have a heart for teens. Teens are a hard population often, but if you find the right people to really connect with them, they have so much to offer and we have so much to learn from them. And that's really what we saw through the mission of Treehouse and the staff of Treehouse.
The story of community impact and teen transformation that's happening in Scott County is not an isolated case. Churches and nonprofits across the country are joining the Treehouse Network and seeing the lives of teens transformed.
For many years, I have been working with immigrant communities. All of them seem to express feelings of not belonging, of being out of place. I began to see how the trauma that they had experienced in their countries of origin had damaged their heart, their mind. And for many years, I sought to put together a curriculum to help these young men, these young women. But as my search went on, I discovered that it was very expensive. It was very difficult to put together. And when I first heard of Treehouse, to me it was like, this is what I have been looking for years. And I knew that I had to start a support group for young adults. Over this past year that I have been working closely with teenagers, I have seen how change has happened very slowly, but very effectively. I cannot speak how priceless really is and how awesome the people at Treehouse are and how priceless really the curriculum is. They are truly, truly your partners, my partners in the ministry of reconciliation.
We were a youth-serving organization for 4 years, but tried to create our own programming through piecing together advice and ideas. We were meeting weekly to teach life skills to teens, which served a great purpose in the time, but found that it wasn't fulfilling the desire to build hope in our teens. It only took meeting twice with our teens using the Treehouse support group model to see them open up like never before. It's been such a gift to have the guidelines, curriculum, and training to base our ministry off of. The best part is that everything Treehouse does points to Jesus, which in turn helps equip us and our volunteers to spread the hope of Christ with our teens. Thank you, Treehouse, for all that you do to end hopelessness among teens across our nation.
So several years ago, my daughter went up to Minnesota and spent some time with her grandmother, who works for Treehouse, and they were going to go on a vacation and have some fun and go to different places. Well, when my daughter returned, instead of talking about that vacation portion or the different places they went, all she could talk about was Treehouse. My daughter also came back and said I needed to start a Treehouse down here in Arizona. I proceeded to do the training courses, the modules. I call it a turnkey operation. They provide all the guidance, the support, everything needed to be able to help you get a program started. The teens rave about it. We ask them after every night. I ask them, Is this something that you can get behind? Is this something that you would invite more of your friends to? And they have. I'm seeing teens coming in and being able to feel comfortable, to be able to talk, open up, and express themselves. Some of it positive, some of it negative. Whatever the case may be, they feel like they can open up. They have a safe place to go, open up, and feel that they'll be listened to.
Through training and equipping like-minded churches and nonprofits, hope is spreading from community to community, from state to state. The mission is expanding, but our focus on teens and transformation remains the same. And in fact, our outcomes only improve with growth. The network sites are making us better. This kind of growth requires an incredible amount of effort from our people and our organization. But being able to see firsthand the life change that happens in our teens only energizes us more to make sure that every teen knows that they are lovable, they are capable, and they are worthwhile.
It's kind of hard to be hopeful just because of where I've been, just that feeling of like isolation. But I wanted people who understood me. I like to have a place to talk through everything, and I've built a rapport with people here.
I came from a loving home and that eventually things didn't come out the way that I wanted it. I would feel angry. Sometimes I didn't know how to feel at the moment. Just numbness.
I first heard about it when my mom called me into her room because she saw a Facebook post about a Treehouse. And she's like, hey, you can make some new friends there. And I'm like, okay.
I was really scared. And felt like I was gonna get judged by everyone and the volunteers. I thought they were gonna think I was weird and I had a bunch of problems, but it wasn't like that at all.
If you need to talk to someone, you can talk to people there. And if they need someone to talk to, you can just listen to them on what they have to say. It's nice, even just little things, getting out of your chest.
It's really nice to just like sit down and actually have a meal with your friends. And like, I know that doesn't seem like a very big part of it, but it's just kind of nice to socialize with people who like me and care about me, I don't really get that a ton.
I used to think I didn't have a future, and I honestly didn't think I would see the day of me turning 18. And Treehouse has given me a lot of hope. And it's like a family, honestly, and the amount of love and trust that is put into these groups is just unbelievable.
Some people don't have access to the therapy, the hospitals, but I know that I always have people to reach out to here.
I feel like Treehouse has helped me find who I am and what kind of person I am.
Without Treehouse, I would not be where I am now. I would have still been on drugs. I would have still been self-harming. I haven't thought about suicide though in like 6 months, so I think I've come a long way.
In my role as Director of Network Expansion, I am in conversations with folks around the nation, youth pastors who in their youth group see suicide ideation and stress at a level that they've never experienced. Parents whose kids are suffering and they don't know what to do. County workers who are trying to find solutions for foster students. And this is exactly what Treehouse is here for. We want to come alongside you, and we want to help and equip you to teach, to give the tools to folks who see the problem and want to do something about it. And we as Christians who really know where hope comes from, this is a fantastic opportunity. I would say it's a calling. What greater work is there than to end hopelessness among teens? So if you see the need in your community and you're saying, I need a Treehouse, reach out and let's get to work.
It's time to unleash the untold potential in our teens and in our communities, for hope to break through. And for that, there's Treehouse, a proven thought leader and equipping organization that provides the tools and relationships that allow hope to take root. changing the lives of teens and transforming communities. Because every teen needs hope, every community needs Treehouse. Together, we can see hope grow.